Good evening. So, if you're an OG of my channel, you will know that I would do black screens where I would just have a black screen and then talk. And when I was in the van, and sometimes at night I just had things on my mind that I wanted to talk about, but I didn't really want to turn the camera on. And so, um, this is going to be one of those, but with something special. So if you're not into that, you can go ahead. I know some people loved it, some people didn't like it. So if you don't, just click off here. But I am going to be reading something special. So I was going through some stuff, some folders, and I ran across my sister, Pam, had strokes when she was 61. She's in assisted living. She'll never get out. I think she's 72 now. Can't keep track of ages when you got 6 kids. And if you don't know the backstory, a lot of people are new here. So sorry. One of my sisters passed away at 42, cervical cancer. Her husband passed away at 52 from a brain tumor. We buried him. My dad had a massive stroke, lived 3 more years. Then Pam had her strokes. She's 61. Again, she's in assisted living. And then my brother passed away at 61. He had colon cancer. But Pam was a writer. Pam is the one, if you don't know, I worked at Marvel Comics for a while with Stan Lee. But Pam, I went out there and lived with Pam because she worked at Marvel Comics and Stan Lee was her boss. That's literally who she worked with. She even had an executive producer on the X-Men. And so she was always writing, but I ran across this and I have it. And I don't remember why I have it, but I do have it. Oh yeah, she wanted to finish her writings. She has a writing called Mouse in the Couch, and but she never finished it. But she just doesn't have the wherewithal to finish the book. But she did write, and it's called The Seedling, and it's not too long, and it just seemed really appropriate. I read through it, especially what's going on nowadays, that yeah, it's just a sweet story. And honestly, I just want to get it out there to the world because she wrote it, and I think it should see the light of day. And so, again, click off now if you don't want to hear, but sometimes people like to just close their eyes. And it's like, remember when you were a kid and somebody read you a story? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read you The Seedling now. So, next up is going to be black screen with the story being talked over it. The Seedling. Once upon a time, a tiny seed laid nestled gently in the firm, cool earth that was its home, happy to be just as it was, and as it seemed it had always been and would be forevermore. Until one day, the tiny seed realized that the earth had become warm and moist. Curious, it gently pushed against the soft earth that now surrounded it. The tiny seed was astonished as it felt itself move. What could this possibly mean? The tiny seed wondered. It pushed again and moved again. The movement felt surprisingly natural to the tiny seed that had been held so securely in the earth for so long. Then the tiny seed noticed that with each push it had sprouted roots, roots that dug down into the earth as it moved the tiny seed up through it. Amazed at this new ability, the tiny seed continued to push its roots into the earth as it moved up through it. Soon, the tiny seed began to sense that it was moving towards something, something above, something beyond. And it knew, though it wasn't sure how it knew, that if it kept pushing, if it kept moving, it would get there, wherever, whatever, there was. And so, with this in mind, the tiny seed continued its journey through the earth. And then one day, it happened. The tiny seed noticed a speck of light shining from above through the moist darkness of the earth. Certain that this was the something that would take it there, the tiny seed felt compelled to go toward the light, and it did. As it reached for the light grew brighter and brighter until the last of the earth broke away and the tiny seed emerged as a little sprout into the world of light. Joy filled the little sprout as the warmth of the light enveloped it, and the little sprout knew that this world of light was the there it had waited for. And so, the little sprout pushed its roots deep into the earth below and stretched its stem toward the bright light above as a gentle breeze blew across the tiny green leaves it now wore. And the little sprout was happy to be just as it was, and as it has always been and would be forevermore. Soon, the little sprout noticed that there were others in this world of light, others like itself in ways, yet each was something different. To the little sprout, the differences created a world of beauty, color, and variety in the world of light they all shared. And the little sprout knew that this was just the way it should be, a world of light, a world for it to be in and share. And so, the little sprout was happy to be, just as it was, and as it seemed it had always been, and would be forevermore. Until one day, it occurred to the little sprout just how different they all were in this world of light. Each had something that seemed extraordinary. Some had beautiful flowers, others had vibrant colors, and yet others had huge leaves. And then, for the first time, the tiny sprout looked at itself in their differences. Why don't I have flowers? The little sprout realized. There's nothing special about my leaves. And next to all these colors, I'm just green. Comparing itself to the others, the little sprout saw itself as painfully ordinary, and, feeling ashamed and alone, it turned away from the light to hide in the shadows of the broad leaves of the tall plant that stood next to it. And there in the shadows, away from the light, the little sprout remembered the time when it lived in the comfort of the dark earth, happy to be just as it was, and seemed it had always been and would be forevermore, and wished it could go back there. Until one day, light broke through the shadows, covering the little sprout as the tall plant next to it moved its broad leaves. "And why do you look so unhappy?" the tall plant asked as it leaned down to the little sprout. No longer used to the light, the little sprout folded its tiny leaves tightly around itself for protection. "You would never understand," the little sprout answered. The tall plant let out a laugh as big as it was. "Go ahead, laugh," the little sprout said defensively. "It's easy for you to be happy because you're tall and big with beautiful leaves. See how happy you'd feel if compared to everyone else, you were plain and small like me?" The tall plant stopped laughing, realizing how sad the little sprout truly was. "Why, I used to be plain and small, just like you." "You were?" the little sprout asked, surprised at the thought. "Why, yes, everyone here was," the tall plant continued. "We all started as little sprouts." "Everyone? All of these started as a sprout, like me?" The little sprout was amazed at the whole idea. "Yes," the tall plant assured the little sprout, "and from there we grew into what you see today." For the first time in a long time, the little sprout felt a surge of hope. "So I'm growing, and I can grow to be something big and beautiful?" The little sprout was astonished at the thought as it looked at the seemingly endless differences and variety in the world of light. "Yes, I am, and I can," the little sprout declared. "I will become, um... The little sprout hesitated. "But what? What should I become?" "Well, I did used to be a little sprout myself," the tall plant offered, "and now I have become the biggest plant of all here. Perhaps I can help you." "You can? You will?" The little sprout was ecstatic. The tall plant spread its broad leaves and turned its stem to shelter and protect the little sprout. And from that time on, they stayed close together. Often, the tall plant told stories of how it was to be tall and big, and the little sprout listened, and at other times, the little sprout talked of all the different things it could become, and the tall plant listened, and together they waited for the day the little sprout would become. And they waited and waited. All through spring and summer, they stayed close together and waited. But in the shadow of the tall plant's leaves, the little sprout had been without the warmth and brightness of the light. Instead of growing, the little sprout had withered, its leaves wilted and yellow, its stem and roots weak. And by the time fall came to the world of light, everything was changing. The world was darker and colder, and all the others in the world of light were changing with it. Colors faded, leaves fell, and when even the tall plant could not withstand the changes in the world of light, the little sprout became frightened. What was it to do now? How was it to become alone? Then the little sprout remembered the time when it lived alone, a tiny seed in the dark earth, happy to be just as it was, and seemed it had always been and would be forevermore, and wished it could go back there, when finally winter came to the world of light, and it did. Until one day, spring came back to the world of light, and with it the little sprout once again emerged from the earth, now strong and healthy and brand new. This time, the world of light was different. The little sprout was surrounded by others just like itself, sprouts all waiting to become something too. The little sprout remembered how frightening it had been to become alone, but now, with a field of others just like itself, maybe they could become something together. And so, the little sprout began to share its stories of the world of light, surrounded by beauty and color and variety, and of the tall plant, and of becoming something big and beautiful and extraordinary. Hearing the little sprout's stories, the field of sprouts agreed that it wasn't easy becoming alone, and so they all moved closer and closer together until it was almost as if they were one. And for some time they stayed together, touching one another's leaves and sharing the earth and the rain in this world of light. Often the sprouts would talk about growing and becoming, deciding on their colors, sizes, and shapes, and they waited for that day when they would become what they wanted. And they waited and waited. All through the spring and summer they stayed close together and waited. But one by one the sprouts grew weak and withered. They had grown so close together that their roots could not branch out in the earth without running into one another's roots. The rain couldn't soak into the earth, and the light couldn't shine on them as they began to shade one another. And so the sprouts continued to wither. The little sprout tried to stop it. After all, how could they become without each other? But it was too late. Fall had come back to the world of light, and the little sprout was alone again. How was it to become alone? How was it to become at all? With no answers, winter came upon the world of light, and the little sprout went back to live alone. A tiny seed in the dark earth, happy again to be just as it was and seemed it had always been and would be forevermore. Until one day, the earth rumbled and shook, and the healthy little sprout squeezed through a tiny crack in the earth as it emerged once again into the world of light. Only this time the world of light was completely different. There were no other sprouts, no tall plants, no different others. In fact, there was nothing at all but a field of dirt filled with huge, thunderous machines. The world of light was under construction, and the little sprout was most definitely alone. Now, with no others to compare himself to help him, to grow with, the little sprout felt frightened being so alone. Where, the little sprout wondered, had its happiness gone? It remembered being happy as a tiny seed nestled in the dark earth. It remembered being happy as a little sprout in the world of light it shared with others, at least for a time. That was until... Then the little sprout realized that it wasn't until it first compared itself to others that its happiness disappeared. And it was, the little sprout knew at that moment, that it had let go of being in search of a way to become. Now the little sprout realized that whether it was a seed or a sprout or whatever it would grow to be, there was something within, something that was always there, its own being, its own life. And right then and there, the little sprout decided to be just what it was, just as it was, just where it was. It let go of comparisons, of the idea of becoming something more, and embraced all that it was, right then, right there. And with that thought, the little sprout turned its stem towards the light and dug its roots deep into the earth and lifted its leaves to catch the cool raindrops that fell from above. Instantly, fear and loneliness left the little sprout as the joy of just being enveloped it. And the little sprout grew and grew and grew until one day the little sprout became a seedling, a big, beautiful, extraordinary plant. And in its being, it gave to the earth and the air and the little winged creatures in the world of light. By the time summer came, the world of light was once again filled with others like itself, yet each was something different. And to the seedling, their differences created a world of beauty, color, and variety. In the world of light, they all shared. And the big, beautiful, extraordinary plant was happy to be, just as it was, and as it seemed it had always been, and would be forevermore. The end. Go out, make an adventure, go call someone you love, and as Joyce says, tell them that you love them, and don't you dare forget your magic. I will see you in the next one.